W0HDR and a few other people, KF0LPC. So Bud, W0RMT, had the original digital net back in 2018. He started the Colorado HD Net, which stands for Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, back in 2018. Let me reset. Okay, that was a fantastic net, and he retired that net in 2022. So he had a really good run from 2018 to 2022. And soon after that, the Digital Learning Net kind of took the reins, and he supported our net and directed a lot of people over to the Digital Learning Net, which was a very huge compliment. And not only that, we eventually moved the Digital Learning Net over to Colorado HD. So it's been our home. Now, Doug, KU0DC, started this net, the Digital Learning Net, back in 2019. And he had to switch his schedule quite a bit. So he has been a part of this net, but due to the schedule change, he has not been able to be on at this time from 7 to 8:30. Chris, KB2IDX, thank you for stepping in there and being the co-net control for the last year, and we really appreciate that. Okay, so the name is changing back to Colorado HD, Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net. So that's pretty much what's going to happen. So as of next week, the name is going to be Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, and we're just going to keep it that way, and it's going to go from 7 o'clock to about 8:15-ish, and then we're going to stop for about 1 minute, and then after 1 minute, we're going to start the informal portion of the net, and we're going to call it the HD Happy Half Hour. So it's going to be a Colorado HD Happy Hour. We're not going to have a separate chat room. We'll just keep the chat room open and continue with the informal portion. So that's what's going to happen next week. So again, starting next week, let me reset. Okay, so the same time, same place, same exact talk group, same exact reflector. Everything's going to be pretty much very similar, same kind of feel, but it's going to be Chris and I doing the Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Mountain Time. And it's going to go from 7 to 8:15. And we'll do questions and answers, we'll do topics, and right about 8:15, we'll start the HD Happy Hour, and it'll go for about a half hour up to an hour if we have some exciting stuff going on. And then we'll have the other Let's Talk Digital Net over on Casey White on Thursday night. And we have other nets, and we're going to update the web pages and the nets page. There's other nets you can be a part of as well, and we'll list those on the web page. So that's what's going to happen. That's the announcement. Not a huge deal, but the name is going to change. So over to KB2IDX, over to you from W0SUN.
There. Okay. I was going to ask you to answer Brian's question, but you did. No, it will still be the same. Just the name change and a little difference in the length, and one handout live instead of two. Make it a little simpler. Okie doke. And I'm not reading that script anymore either. I hate scripts. All right, we just added a few more in the meantime. Let me run the call signs down. N6UTC, WD0HDR, K7DLV, and KD9YOO. And that brings us up to 36. Very good. So next week it's going to be all new, and I'm happy. I think it'll be fun. So, all right, Bucky. That's all I got for the moment. What you got next, sir? KD2IDX.
All right, let's go over to Rip, see what he has for us. K3XO. Go ahead and take it. K3XO, over to you from W0SUN. Okay, well, let's see if we can come back to K3XO. All right, let's open it up for any other questions or any other comments, questions for the net. Again, I'm sad about Ham Shack Hotline coming to an end. I guess it got really big and really hard to manage for those guys. So they decided to bring it to an end August 29th, the end of Ham Shack Hotline. So everybody go over to hamsoverip.com. They got a similar situation, and they handle the same kind of phones, and you can set up your phone if you do have Ham Shack Hotline over on Hams over IP. So all is not lost. So again, the question was, is the subject line limited to hotspots? Initially, when we did the Colorado hotspot discussion net, hotspots were kind of new back then. A lot of people didn't know what they were, and so WiresX was very, very new, and we did mostly about it covered DMR and Fusion and DStar and all that stuff and hotspots and everything. But now since we're very and I think I timed out. I've done it. So yeah, somebody asked us, is the subject limited to hotspots? Even though it's called the Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, we're doing Colorado Hotspot Digital Discussion Net kind of thing. So yeah. All right. So anybody else have any questions for the net? Please come now with your questions for the net. Call signs, anybody from W0SUN? All right. Let me tell a few things about Colorado Digital. And you should visit the webpage if you haven't. I'm going to be doing some updates this week, especially on the Nest page, so stay tuned for that. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised because there's going to be some other Nests that show up on the Nest page. And needs to be updated quite a bit. And we'll talk about that a little bit more next week once I update the web pages. A little bit about Colorado Digital. The whole purpose of Colorado Digital back in 2018, and a lot of people had D-Star radios, and DMR radios were coming into the scene that was really popular, DMR back in the day, and Colorado Digital embraced DMR, especially on Brandmeister. We were one of the early adopters on Brandmeister. In fact, that's why we have labeled talk groups like Colorado HD and Colorado Severe Weather and things like that. So we were lucky to get a few talk groups like that, and that was pretty neat to be able to get those. They don't do those labels anymore on Brandmeister. So that was a big part of it, was D-Star and DMR, and then Fusion came on the scene, and you had C4FM and Fusion and all that. And so we connected everything to the XLX303, including separate Fusion reflectors, because back then we could do DMR and D-Star, but not Fusion into the reflector. That came a little bit later. In fact, when we started with this net, we had separate YSF reflectors. But a little bit later, we had the capability, and the XLX platform is pretty much open source. So we added the ability to connect directly to the reflector, and so we didn't need those separate reflectors anymore. And that's when DGIDs came into play. Let me reset so I don't time out. So that was about 2021, and we got rid of those reflectors about that time frame, 2021, 2022, and that eliminated a lot of overhead, and we only had to deal with one reflector after that. So that was pretty cool. Before that time, we had like 5 reflectors, a bunch of YSF reflectors, and one big XLX reflector. We got to get rid of all those overhead, things like that, and just focused on the XLX reflector. So that was really neat. And then soon after that, we had the capability to navigate natively with DMR, with their type of navigation. They didn't need to go through Brandmeister anymore. They could just go directly to the XLX reflector. And there's ways to navigate about that. And on DMR, D-Star, they always have had the ability to navigate on different reflectors with their connectivity capability. And everybody does it differently. And in Fusion, back in the day when we first started, Fusion couldn't go to different modules. They were very limited. But once we got rid of those reflectors, and then we have the ability to use DGIDs and navigate, that was really cool. Back in the early days of OpenSpot, in fact, the OpenSpot 1 do not have the capability to navigate with DGIDs to this day. I have a couple of OpenSpot 1s, and yeah, they do not understand when you do a DGID change. They don't know what to do with it. That came later with the OpenSpot 2, OpenSpot 3, and OpenSpot 4. Let me reset. All right, so about that time frame, that was really cool. That I really thought that was the greatest thing in the world, that I could navigate to these different modules, and I thought that was great. Back in the early days, we connected XLX303 over to the Pi-Star reflector. We were one of the early chosen reflectors to be able to connect directly to Andy, the author of Pi-Star. He chose the XLX. I don't think that was a timeout. That was a weird disconnect. So sorry about that. Hey Chris, KB2IDX, how's my signal real quick? Is it choppy or am I coming in okay?
Solid copy, Loki. 100%. I did see you drop off that time, but I thought maybe your finger slipped or something off the button. Back to you.
Yeah, that was a weird glitch. It just kind of disconnected me for a second. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm coming in clear. So, yeah, that was pretty neat. We were chosen with another reflector to be tied into module G over to Pi-Star Chat. And that's a direct link over to Andy's reflector, by the way. If you didn't know that, Module G, if you navigate over to Module G, you're coming out on Andy's personal reflector. And I think that's really cool. So we've done that since the very beginning, and there was another reflector, but they've since disconnected. So we've got that one reflector tie-in with Module G. We also have now connected to other reflectors. We have neighboring reflectors like Octane Network, maintained by Josh, KF0LPT. We're also connected to the Parker Repeater Association reflector, and we're also connected over to Castle Rock Repeater Group reflector on Module I, which that's kind of like the inner link. And that was an experiment that is ongoing. And it's been kind of fun to do that. Not only that, but we have the Colorado Severe Weather Net, and Gary handles the Colorado Severe Weather, and that's becoming quite popular on Module A, and that's pretty neat. Also, we started out with the Venture Overland Group, and they used Module H to make their connectivity with their DMR talk group. They've been around a long time with their talk group, and they chose the XLX 303 reflector to connect to all their different systems as well. So that was pretty cool that we picked those guys up on Module H. And they're an outdoor group. They do jeeping and anything with outdoor kind of stuff. And they're based, I think, out of Wyoming. And that was pretty neat that we got to do the Venture Overland guys. Let me reset. So this one is the main conference center. Kind of think of the XLX 303 as a kind of a conference center. That's the way I think of it. The main conference room is Module D, and that's where we do the weekly net. We also have now added the Super Freak channel, and we moved that over to Module B, and that's actually getting more traffic these days. So tune in on the Super Freak Module B. You're going to start hearing a little bit more traffic. So a few people have started jumping over to Module B and started having more QSOs over there. And that's kind of cool. I'm really excited to hear about that. Also, we have Module C. Let me tell you about those guys. Let me reset. So a couple of years ago, I think it's been 2 years already, maybe 2 years, or a year and a half maybe. We met Jeff, W7NEE, over on KCY, and he quickly started hanging out on Colorado Digital and the different talk groups, and that was really fun. And then he really dived into the digital communication stuff. And it wasn't soon after that, he had DMR radios, he had hotspots, he had WiresX. Then he finally got a repeater, and he started all that on the Olympic Mountain Digital WiresX room on Module C. So those guys hang out, and you're going to hear those a lot. Those guys talk in the morning quite a bit. They start off the morning on Module C. And you'll hear those guys talking on their system up there in Washington State. So, and they come over on the different modules. Sometimes you'll hear those guys as well over on Super Freak. We call it Super Freak on Module B. That stands for Super Frequency, by the way. And we got some others as well, but that's pretty much it. And that's what XLX 303 has to offer. And it's been really great to be associated with ColoradoDigital.net. All right, this is Bucky, W0SUN. Let me check back with K3XO. Are you still around, K3XO? Rip, are you there? You had a question, I think. Over to you from W0SUN.
This is K3XO. I'm still here, but I don't think I Well, I didn't intend to indicate I had a question. I did have a little trouble finding you, but here I am. So I'm just listening. I had to step away from the radio for a couple of minutes, but I'm back. So carry on. I'm here to listen and learn. Back to you, K3XO.
All right, Rip. Yeah, okay, you were just waiting. I always appreciate if somebody puts their hand up and I wave back sometimes. Oh, there you go. So, no question. By the way, um, K3XO, you're coming in with, I can see you coming in on your call sign on my end, but on some dashboards, you're coming in with no call. And the reason that happens is if you're new to digital communications, it's a good idea to get a radio ID. Go to radioid.net. It's totally free, and register for a radio ID. And what that allows you to do is now your call sign doesn't just show up on Fusion. It shows up on DMR and all the different P25 reflectors and things like that. And that's always a good idea to do. So if you're just new into Fusion and C4SM, even though if you don't use DMR or anything like that, it's always a good idea to go to radioid.net and just get a register for an ID, and that gets connected to your call sign. And then you not only do you show up on all the dashboards, but sometimes if you don't have a radio ID, it prevents you from, if you ever want to connect to a hotspot or something, sometimes it prevents you from going to another network. Once you get a radio ID, you're able to get onto P25 and all the DMR networks. There's quite a few out there, Brandmeister, Amcom, TGIF, and your call sign will show up. And not only that, you can connect to the networks as well. So it's always a good idea, radioid.net. Any questions for the Digital Learning Net? This is the last night. We call it the Colorado, or the Digital Learning Net. After tonight, it's going to go back to Colorado Hotspot discussion now. Any questions? Please come now with your call sign. Okay, really quick, Chris, over to you. Are we up on Ham.Live? I think we are. We have 36 check-ins, I believe. You got anything over to you, KB2IDX? Just, I'm going to pass it to you real quick, and then I'm going to transition to something else. But over to you, Chris. Go ahead and take it from W0SUN.
Okay. Actually, we're caught up in Ham.Live, and I'm going to take this opportunity to mention, for those of you that use WPSD on your hotspot, excuse me, they have made a few interesting changes over the last week, I would say. One of them I don't like, and I'm not sure why they did it or how it works, but they added CWID toggle switch in the MDVM section on the big page. You've always been able to enable it, but you had to know where to go and do it. So it required a little extra knowledge. But now it's right out there in the open. And I'm concerned Well, to me, it's obvious reasons. If somebody puts their CWID on and they're in a room or something, that's not going to make people too happy. So to figure out how that works, get back to you. Also, and this one I like more, I recommend that you check this one out on your own rather than me trying to describe it. But they have improved the Brandmeister manager. They made some pretty heavy duty changes to it. You just go take a look at it, you'll see. And look, I also think you all should follow the change log. I don't know if you do or not. The change log is located under the advanced tab in tools, and you can follow what they say. They also, the third thing is they've modified the backup restore page to use new Brandmeister Talk Group favorites. Okay, well, that may not be a visual, but anyway, check it out. See what you think. And if you know anything about the CWID, let me know too. And in the meantime, we just had 2 more people join us. This is KB2IDX with the Visual Learning Net for all that time. Let's see, KF5CJG and K5RUN have joined us. That brings us up to 38. And I think we're about to transition into something else. But keep in mind, if you all have any questions, the best way is to click on the little hand in Hand.live. If you need to call up over the air, just look for a break. We'll get you in there somehow. All right, Bucky, I'm going to send it back over to you, sir. Over to you, 0SUN, KB2IDX.
Really good information on WPSD. So I have a couple of questions for you, Chris. Where is that CWID toggle? I'm going to my hotspot and I don't see it. Where do you see that CWID toggle or whatever, where you can turn it on or off? Which page is that on?
You have to go down to the config page and go down to the radio/MDVM host modem configuration, and it's at the very bottom under other MDVM modem options.
Oh, okay. I just passed by it. I was scrolling too fast. Okay, look at that. Other MMDVM modem options. You can turn it off or on. Enabling CWID will periodically have the modem transmit your call sign via CW for identification. Yeah, I can only imagine there's going to be some experimenters that try to create a bridge, maybe into WiresX, and maybe if they have that switch, that's going to be annoying. I'm just waiting to hear one of those CWIDs one day. You know, if you did that with an OpenSpot, sometimes you'll hear the OpenSpot voice if somebody's accidentally or on purpose doing a link on a bridge. But yeah, if you ever do that, make sure you have that turned off because that could be annoying, that's for sure. Hey, thanks for that. And it's really interesting how they have, if you go to, let's see, if you go to, hold on a second, go to admin and what do you call it? You said the DMR navigation. Oh, what is it? DMR, you mentioned the other thing that they enhanced. Go ahead and repeat that. For some reason, it's escaping me. Go ahead, Chris.
That's the Brandmeister top group manager. That's the thing that you have to put an API key in to be able to use.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember. So you go to the Brandmeister manager or the Brandmeister talk group manager, and that's where you do that. You go to self-care. You get an API key from the self-care. You copy that into your hotspot Brandmeister manager there, and lets you do some API interfaces with the Brandmeister, so you can then you can disconnect and reconnect and do all kinds of things with talk groups on Brandmeister. Okay, so that's been enhanced. Do you know what the enhancement is?
Well, it's actually fairly visually obvious. They've rearranged everything. They've added enable switches to talk groups. They've added a drop button for each talk group that you have as a static talk group. And then the dynamic talk group area has moved to lower. It's just totally redesigned. And I mean, it's I mean, like right now, I have a KCY on here 313136, but I don't want to see any traffic from KCY right now. Just on yours, I would disable with that enable button over there on the right hand side. It's just a slide switch. And I could just drop it also because it's a click on button. So that's a little redundant, but it's gone. That's what it does. It takes it out. I just did that wrong. I need to put it back in now. KB2IX. That's you, buddy.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for that. I'm glad you're keeping up on that. That's really very helpful. So you got Pi-Star, Raspberry Pi based hotspot software. You got the original Pi-Star and you got WPSD. WPSD gives you a lot more, but it gets updated quite frequently and things change sometimes. And if you're not into that, you can always go Pi-Star, and it's pretty stable. I've got one hotspot on actually two hotspots on Pi-Star, and I've got two on WPSD and a couple on OpenSpot as well. By the way, OpenSpot also takes advantage of that API key, and you can enhance your Brandmeister navigation capability in OpenSpot as well. Not just Raspberry Pi, but on WPSD and Pi-Star, but also on OpenSpot. All right, any other questions? Any questions for the net? Let me ask you if there's any questions or comments for the net, please come out with your call sign.
Victor Kilo 3 Echo Alpha November. Good evening, guys.
Hey, Erwin. Good to have you. All right. We've also added John, KN6WES, and Erwin, we've got you added as well. What do you got for us today, Erwin? Go ahead and take the mic.
Yeah, good evening to you, and good to hear you, Becky. Since I last spoke to you when you were still in rehab, I know you've done one net since then. I kind of heard the tail end of it, but Yeah, I thought I'd just come in and mention something. Um, I know some people will be upset with what I'm going to say, but at the end of the day, I've been really thinking about this, and I'm sure you will agree. Um, Firstly, in Australia, they've started another new network system on DMR. And I looked at this and I thought to myself, how many networks should we have? It is so confusing firstly, for the operator who wants to get into digital, doesn't know what mode to use. It is very confusing. And also for people who are crossover, uh,
VK3EAN, we lost you at crossover. It's also difficult for people who cross over, and then we lost you. VK3EAN, VK3EAN from W0SUN.
Battery died.
Okay. Yeah, I got some cool stuff to talk about here in just a minute. Let me wait here a little bit for Erwin there, but anybody else have any questions or comments for the net? Please come now with your call sign.
WD0CIB, WD0CIB, Charles Endeavor.
Oh, it's good to hear your voice, Charles. I haven't talked to you for quite some time. What do you got for the net? We'll go with you, and then we'll check back with Erwin. Go ahead, Charles.
Okay, yeah, the first thing is, hopefully you're feeling much better from your fall. And your fall, you actually went kind of like face down. And I did the same thing, except it was a month before or so. I was walking towards the bus stop to catch a bus, and next thing I know, I look up and there's this big round light over me, and I recognized it as a hospital operation room where they have that big light over you and doctors looking at you and stuff. Anyway, I crashed on the left side of my face. Anyway, yeah, I didn't let them give me any pain pills or anything like that. But anyway, they ran me through the CAT scan and all that stuff. I didn't hurt my back or anything. Just my face was messed up, you know. Anyway, one of these days when you get to feeling better, come over to the house and I'll show you the pictures. I actually took pictures. I don't know why. But anyway. Oh, yeah, and about, let's see, Ham Dot Live is quitting. You might have heard of this one before. It's called NetLogger. You might try that one. Anyway, just kidding. Glad you're feeling better. This is WD0CIB. Turn it back over to Net Control. Take her over, Bucky.
Oh, you're funny. Well, I'll tell you what. If I hope Ham.Live doesn't quit. Ham.Live is just totally awesome. We really use it a lot, don't we? And Dan, I'd love to see your pictures. I'll have to post one of my pictures in the chat room. Yeah, that would have been. That's really interesting. You got your face scraped on the asphalt, so did I. Man, when I fell, I remember. I remember I was totally conscious. I did not get knocked out, but I fell, and then I just remember my face scraping on the asphalt, thinking, "Oh, this is not going to be good." And man, when your face scrapes on the asphalt, it bleeds like crazy. So it looked pretty gnarly when I got up. Man, I was bleeding all over the place. And yeah, and I had a compression fracture on my spine, and I broke my wrist and really bruised up my right arm as well. So you got knocked out, and next thing you know, you're looking up at the light. And I thought, man, you had a near-death experience or something. Tom was saying, don't go to the light, don't go to the light. We want you still here. So I'm glad you're still with us, Charles. Yeah, those falls can be pretty dangerous. I'm just glad I'm still here and I'm able to do the nets and still do all these activities. So I'm glad you're here with us as well, Charles. All right, let's see if Erwin's back. VK3, EAN. You still with us, Erwin? Over to you from W0SUN.
Yeah, W0SUN. Sorry, I saw my hotspot sort of went offline. And I was probably talking and you didn't hear what I said. Did you catch any of my transmission there, Bucky, from VK3EAN?
Oh, I did, but I was so caught up in Charles's ordeal that why don't you go ahead and repeat it from the very beginning? I know you said we were talking about things are getting confusing, and there's a new network in Australia. But yeah, just go ahead and let us know. Just go ahead and repeat what you were saying and continue.
Okay, Bucky, thank you for that, and hi to everybody else, and to Chris, and everybody here on the ScoopNet. You know, I was thinking, I know certain people are going to get upset with what I'm going to say, but, you know, I was thinking this, and I wanted to ask a question, and I wanted to get your thoughts, and also try and get to a conclusion for the situation. You know, new people enter into the digital world and they don't know where to go. There's so many networks, there's so much out there, it's all so confusing for the new person. And we do want new people to enter into the hobby because we don't want to destroy our hobby, and digital has saved it. But it's, on the other hand, it's also doing a detrimental situation to it because it's absolutely dying. If you look at all the talk groups and things, they're not active anymore. It's quiet. You look, for example, at talk group 91 on Brandmeister. It's all quiet, it's all dead. The problem is we have too many networks out there. And if we consolidate them to like 2 or 3, it would be great because we would have all the talk groups or reflectors, whatever it may be, all consolidated together, we wouldn't have to have all the duplicates like we've got over different things like 3 stars and KC wides and all of that. We wouldn't have to have all of that, and we would have one solid system. And this is how I look at it. And you would have activity. It wouldn't be so sparsed out. This is what it is. I think it's a much better idea of having 1 or 2 or 3. There's a saying: keep it simple, sweet. Keep things simple, sweet, and things work. This is why I thought, let me ask you, what can we do about this? And who can we talk to try and do this? Because we don't need people keep popping up new networks all the time, because it creates confusion and it creates dismay with the whole thing. So back to you. I hope I haven't upset anybody on frequency here, because some people like to be the main man and say, hey, I've got my own network and join my own network per se. Don't join the others. So how do we sort this out there, Bucky, from VK3EAM?
Victor Kilowatt 1 Juicy Tomato. Right?
Very interesting. I appreciate your comments, Erwin, and I'm sure a lot of people share that same type of thinking with you. John, VK1JT, I think you have a comment. Go ahead there, John.
Yeah, Roger there. VK1 Juicy Tomato. I like to copy and duplicate Earth Sense as well. I've been a very active ham since, let's say, put it this way, from the 2nd of August last year till today, I've clocked up over 3,700 QSOs, averaging 12 a day. That's crazy in itself, but what you can understand is I serve the dashboard, and I think a lot of people are starting to do that, or a lot of people find that too hard. But I say that's the extrovert in me. I don't mind jumping in and introducing myself during a Q&A, but although the way we operate is, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the way we operate has changed as well. I mean, you just look at the CB crash on 91 on Grandmaster. I actually went swear words and all, an Indian guy once who just kept buying into my QSO, and I had to let him rip. I had to apologize to everyone after it. It was an absolute pearler. But most of the people, like on TGIF, for example, that's one of the ones that I like the best. Everyone's warm, welcoming, and everything like that. Yourself, don't upset the Bible lovers, then you're right. That's what I've learned. Just don't upset the people of faith, and you're right. And I've made the mistake once. All right, next to Net Control VK1 Juicy Tomato.
Okay, yeah, that was a quick key up, so we didn't grab the Where's X folks. But yeah, appreciate your comments there. Let's go. I think Chris. you might have something as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you for another. I have some comments on all this stuff. But I want to hear what Chris has to say. KB2IDX over to you from W0SUN. And by the way, you're listening to the Digital Learning Net. This is the top of the hour. And I will make another announcement if you didn't hear from me at the beginning there. But I will make an announcement here at the end of the net as well. So stay tuned because we got some changes coming on. Over to KB2IDX, over to you from W0SUN.
Okay. For Erwin, you surmised correctly that there are going to be a number of people who disagree with you. I respect your opinion. And you're a good friend of the net, and so there's no hard feelings. But I couldn't disagree with you more. And let me try to change your opinion just a little bit here. There's other people who may want to say something. But think about that kind of logic on a very basic scene. I've been a ham myself since the 80s. And one of the things that when I was learning that they tried to burn into me is that we are innovators. We are discoverers. We innovate, we create, we modify, and we learn, and then we teach. And coming up with more modes is one real cool way, because, well, first of all, DMR was not ours. That was a public service. D-Star was started by the Japanese Amateur Radio League. Fusion has been around in the public service as well. C4FM. So we took those technologies and we utilized them for ham radio. Whereas newer technologies, such as the newest, when we're talking about M17, are developed by hams, for hams. Let me reset. KB2IDX. So it's important that we never lose sight that that is one of the main tenets of being a ham. You don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to experiment. You don't have to innovate. One of the joys of ham radio is benefiting from what the other guys do. But you should support it, at least. That's just an opinion. The other thing that I wanted to make a point to you, Erwin, is that, and Paul said this in our chat, that's exactly right. You are more influenced in the digital mode of what is in your neighborhood, what your ham radio clubs or friends are using. And that is usually the big decider on what you use. For instance, in my area here, the C4FM is used, D-Star is used, but they don't do any DMR here at all. So it's regional. And you're going to, the best thing anyone new coming into ham radio, especially digital, is learn what your friends are using. Those that talk you into becoming a ham. Get good at that, and then experiment on your own. Get out there and see the other one. Yes, it can be confusing. You need a good mentor, too. I don't know how they are in Australia these days, but here in the U.S., you can learn online to take all your tests. And even now you can take your tests online. And that never gives you any opportunity to be around other people with other ideas. So I wish it weren't so, but it is. That's modern technology. But the point is, they are useful, they are innovative, and they're fun too. But learn the basics on what everybody in your neighborhood uses. And that's my 75 cents for inflation. And Erwin, I'm going to pass it to you, and I'm about to time out, and I want you to pass it to Bucky when you're done. NK3EAN from KB2IDX.
DK3EAM. Thank you there, Dr. Parrott. Chris, alright, so everybody's got different ideas. I was just trying to say that, we need to get some conformity in the modes that we use, or modes or whatever it is, not so have so many, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry comes up with his new idea, because that's not the idea. The idea is to communicate with each other. The idea is to have nets on air, not to, you can see amateur radio is dying. You can see it's dying. You look at 91, for example. It's dead some of the times, absolutely dead. So, you ask yourself the question, where are these amateur radios operators going? They're giving up their tickets. And this is why I think a lot of the countries are so adamant of trying to make it easier for the guys to get their tickets, because they're scared that it's just going to die off totally. And we need to save it. And as I said, we've got to keep things simple, sweet at the end of the day. This is what it's all about. That's in my view. But anyway, thanks, guys. I'm busy making coffee for myself, so 73s, and we'll be listening. DK3EAN.
Go ahead, Bucky. It's all yours.
All right. Thanks a lot, you guys. I appreciate all the comments. So, yeah, I was just thinking about when I first got into digital communications. Of course, I knew about D-Star. And I remember somebody showing me way back about the D-Star reflectors, and I didn't care. I thought, why would you want to do that? I'm happy with what I got. We got IRLP and everything, and Echolink, and yeah, D-Star is kind of cool. I'm a Yaesu guy, so I'm not really into that, but yeah, it sounds pretty cool. Maybe I'll get into it one day. And I was thinking, okay. And then I bought a Fusion radio, but I didn't know anything about Fusion, and I discovered WiresX one day, and I thought that was the best. And I was happy because I realized it was a Yaesu linking, Yaesu repeater linking system. So I was happy. I was happy with my little world, and thought that was really cool that we could link to different systems around the world. And I was really happy with my little WiresX environment. And it was soon after that I got a hotspot, and I discovered there was a whole new world way beyond Yaesu WiresX. That was the cool thing. And then I started going down the rabbit hole. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. Let me reset. Once I discovered things like all the different networks like Brandmeister and TGIF and all these different things that just were so foreign to me, and of course I kind of understood C4FM and Fusion. And then I discovered the YSF network, the SCS network, and then I found out you could cross mode, and I thought that was the coolest thing, so I used my FT70D to get into the DMR Brandmeister network and the TGIF network. And man, I really, really loved the type of discovery. And I think a lot of ham radio operators like getting into digital, and then they discovered that there's way more out there, and you could get into D-Star and DMR and then Brandmeister, and there's all these DMR networks out there, and I really loved all the discovery and all the things that it just kept going and going and going with NXDN and P25, and I thought that was pretty exciting, and I think a lot of ham radio operators feel that way as well. So I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, there's different thoughts, there's different ways of thinking. Now let me reset and let me tell you about something that somebody tried to do to kind of make it unified, and kind of it failed, but it succeeded a little bit. But let me tell you what they tried to do. Let me reset. Okay, so I don't know if you remember, but April 2024. Remember that date, April 2024. That was the official start of AMCOM, and we've been talking about AMCOM. And the reason we talked a little bit about AMCOM is it's all USA based. Some of these other networks are out of Europe or other places, but AMCOM was all USA based, and I thought that was kind of cool. So at that time, Curtis and Doug and John Kruk from Yaesu, and these guys started AMCOM. And now Curtis, I didn't know he was behind this at the time, but remember I talked about, if you remember, if you tuned in back in those days, April 2024, we found out there was a DMR unification project. And that DMR unification project included SystemX, it included TGIF, it included AMCOM, it included OpenQuad, and all these networks tried to make it so it was all unified. So when you keyed up one network, you could actually key up the other network. And to this day, it's kind of like that. So if you're on SystemX and you key up the talk group 31088, or if you key up White Lightning, it's going to key up on AMCOM. So if somebody gets on SystemX, and I know that Paul gets on SystemX, and I get on AMCOM, we're able to communicate with each other with, let's say, QuadNet, talk group 320 or 321, QuadNet, TechNet. And we're able to talk to each other even though we're on different networks. And that was part of that DMR unification project. And they are still tied together. So that's kind of exciting. Hey, Paul, are you out there? ZL2 Bravo Echo Zulu. Let me see if you're out there. Over to you from W0SUN. Let me see if you're out there.
Yeah, hi there, Bucky. ZL2BZ on frequency. Yes, the DMR unification project only got so many networks joining it, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, the big network, the Brandmeister didn't want to play, But then again, we all know that Brandmeister does not play well with others. So that's my comment. Back to you, Bucky. W0SUNZL2BZ, over.
Yeah, there was this big web page. I thought it was kind of interesting, the DMR Unification Project. It used to be dmrup.org. And if you try to go out there, it's not there anymore. So it's gone. So does that mean it's all gone and everything? You know who was behind that? The guy that started the DMR Unification Project was none other than Curtis, who was one of the founders of AMCOM. So he started that DMR Unification Project, and it's kind of there because I know, Paul, you get on System X through QuadNet, and you can get on, I see you on Talkgroup 320 or 321, and I can get on AMCOM, and I can get on Talkgroup 320 or 321, and you and I can talk to each other even though we're on different systems. That is correct. That's right. Isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, that's right, Bucky. Yes, I can talk to you on 321 or 31088 or White Lightning or several of the other ones. Yes, it's very convenient. DMRUnificationProject.org is still available. So I've just got the website up at the moment, over.
Oh, cool. I'll put that website in there, in the chat room. Oh, there it is. dmrup.org. Let me try that. Is it really there? Hang on. Yeah, there it is. Okay. DMR Unification Project. There we go. So, what that basically is, and let me tell you this, these different networks, it includes FreeDMR, by the way. FreeDMR is kind of part of that as well. So is TGIF. TGIF uses another system altogether, but AMCOM, System X, FreeDMR, they use a version of HB Link called HB Link 3.0. They took HB Link 3.0 and modified it further. FreeDMR took it, and then they took FreeDMR's network, and then they modified it a little bit further. So if you look at System X dashboard and you look at AMCOM's dashboard, they're almost identical. Seriously, they are using the exact same software. So they also use HB Link. Now, what is HB Link? HB Link is software that's used to connect different networks together. Mostly DMR. What you do is you create your own little DMR master network, and then you can connect it with different configuration files and things like that. We do it all the time here as well. So it's pretty cool. So they can actually take their version of HB Link and link it into other networks, or they can link it directly to an XLX reflector and that kind of thing. Brandmeister does that as well. They have if you follow the rules of Brandmeister, do they bridge with other networks? Yes, they do. And they have to do it their way, and they do not bridge to other DMR networks, but they do bridge to XLX, and they bridge to other networks as well. They just do it a different way. So, yeah, that's how they do it. And if you look at the dmrup.org, they're going to talk about HB Link a little bit. I just noticed that it's on there. Let me reset. So what that means is if you have your own, and there are other networks out there, believe me, there's like, here in Colorado, we have the Rocky Mountain Ham Network. And the Rocky Mountain Ham Network is not tied to all these. It's kind of a standalone DMR network that's throughout the state of Colorado, and it's a pretty great network. So they could actually take HP Link connecting software, and they could connect to the DMR unification project and use that software to link in. So not only HP Link, but other systems as well. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. So I guess there you go. Talk Group Uniformity. So DMR Unification Project. There you go, Erwin. They're actually trying. I didn't know that. I thought that webpage was down. I went to it like about 6 months ago, and I couldn't get to it. So I'm glad it's back up. So I guess it was down for a short time, but it's back up now. And the guy that started all this DMR Unification Project was Curtis. He's the guy that is the big driver behind this, but now there's other people behind it too. So there you go, dmrup.org. All right. So that's a very interesting topic. So next week I want to talk about. You remember, like before I had my fall, you remember that we were talking about how Amcom has their own YCS server. In fact, let me put this in the chat room real quick. If you go to amcom.network, you're going to see this. And let me put this in the chat room here. Stand by. What you're going to go, if you go to amcom.network, you're going to see this statement right here. And it's called the, you go to Amcom, right on the amcom.network. Somebody put that URL in there. You're going to see the Amcom DMR C4FM network. So what does that say? That says Amcom, it's not just a DMR network, it's also a C4FM network. And I don't know if you were tuning in about a month ago, I was talking about that. They've added that to their network. And they've added linking in with WiresX, with DR2X AC repeaters, with hotspots. You can use Fusion and link in through the Amcom network. And we talked a little bit about that. And since that time, it's been a month, they've enhanced and added to that network. And it was very vague, but now it's been extended. And it's still confusing, but Josh and I, KF0LPT, stayed up one night, and we were messing around with this, and we got it all figured out. So maybe next week I'd like to talk a little bit about that. It's pretty interesting, and so stay tuned for that. So here's the big announcement in case you're tuning in late. I'm going to give you the announcement here. A couple of announcements really quick before we close. Stand by, let me reset. Okay, number one, Ham Shack Hotline. Ham Shack Hotline is shutting the doors. As of in August 29th of this year will be the last day they're going to shut down the doors for Ham Shack Hotline. So that's the big announcement tonight. Ham Shack Hotline is going away, but there's other networks out there. And here's the other big announcement. After 6 years, starting in June of 2019, 6 years later, the Digital Learning Net is changing. It's we're going to, Doug, he's got a different schedule. He just tuned in. I think he just checked in, but so he had a different schedule. So he had to Chris stepped in, KB2IDX. Doug could not make it on his work schedule. And so we changed a few things. And Digital Learning Net is, we're still here. The Digital Learning Net is at the current format, the hour and a half, and then the HD happy hour is changing as of next week. We're going to be calling it the Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net. even though it's the Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, we're still going to be talking about WiresX and Fusion and DMR and all that stuff, P25 and all that stuff. But it's going to change a little bit. So instead of an hour and a half, we're going to go to about an hour and 15 minutes. And then after an hour and 15 minutes, we're going to go into HD Happy Hour. We're not going to have a separate chat room anymore. We're going to leave the chat room open. So we're going to have the formal portion of the net. Then we're going to go in quickly into the informal portion of the net. And it's going to be shortened a little bit. So an hour and 15 minutes for the main portion, and then about a half hour to 45 minutes for the HD Happy Hour. And we're not going to have a separate chat room. We're just going to have the main chat room. So that's what's changing. So we're still going to be here at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. It's just instead of the digital learning net, it's going to be the Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net. And part of that is back in 2018, Bud W0RMT had the original digital net called the Colorado Hotspot Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, and that's how we came up with Colorado HD. We're going to kind of go back to that. So that's the big announcement. Let me reset. Okay, also, Casey White has been having some issues. Hopefully we're going to be there tomorrow night and we'll see how it goes. They were actually down for about an hour today, I heard. But hang in there. They're working with Yaesu on some of the issues. So I don't know why they're having so many problems, but they're still working on it. We'll see how it goes tomorrow night. We're going to be on America KCY starting at 7 o'clock Mountain Time tomorrow night. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris, KBQIDX. Go ahead and take it, and you can wrap it up. And for the last time tonight, we'll start the HD Happy Hour. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. What else do I have turned on? I'll figure it out later, I guess. Okay. There's a couple more additions to the Hands-On Live. KK1 USA, KK7RGR, K0DC, KA5JKI. Oh, we're going to change tonight, okay. Stand by one. All right. Got rid of the echo. Figured out what it was. Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. Oh, another one. There's Eric. KE0SMR. And a special thanks to Sean, KK6, Bravo Echo Bravo, for creating Hand.Live. Not going away. Hamjack Hotline is going away. Which is unfortunate. We can talk about it in a little bit, if you wish. But I had a good time. I hope you all did as well. And I promise I'm not reading that thing again. If I have to, I'll write a new one, but I don't like those things. This is KB2IDX, inviting everybody to stick around. Join us in the after hours. And that for the last time tonight has a separate room. And next week it will be just one room for the whole night, so much easier, much simpler. I also want to say one more thing about the Casey White situation. Let me reset real quick. The issue is mostly with the WiresX system. As Bucky said, they're working with Yaesu. Today's incident apparently was unrelated. Their system crashed and they had to restart it, so that's why it was down today. But I recommend for tomorrow, you come in on a hotspot or other device, USB sticks, things like that, Echo Link, Amtrak Hotline, any of the bridges. To the best of my knowledge, I noticed somebody said something in the chat room earlier, they should be working just fine. And with that, we will carry us over. We had 45 check-ins this evening. Please join us in the other Handout Live room. Thank you, everybody. All the check-in. Erwin, you're still, stick around. We can talk some more if you want. It's an interesting situation, but everybody's a little different. You're right. This is KB2IDX saying temporarily 7 feet. See you in a few. Please leave a little space so that anybody that needs to disconnect can do so. KB2IDX.
We just added Chris, W1TAT. Thanks for joining us, Chris. That brought us up to 46 check-ins tonight. Let me see if really quick, is there anybody that'd like to do an over-the-air check-in? If you'd like to get checked in before we close, please come down with your call sign. All right, so tonight we've got the other Handout Live open. You just go right next door to HDDLN Happy Hour. We've got it open. Remember, next week it's changing a little bit. We're still here every week at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night for the Colorado Hotspot discussion net. And at the end, we're going to go into the HD